Thanks, Rod. And all of a sudden, the Bombers are back in it in the East. Let's immediately take you to the West. Key division battle between BC and Saskatchewan. Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter.
Thank you, Dave, and welcome. Third of 4 meetings between these Western Division rivals, and the man on the hot seat is Buck Pierce as the BC Lions go to work on offense first. First play of the game, a toss to Emmanuel Arsenault for a gain of 4.
Yes, Wally Buono said yesterday that he needs more consistent play out of the quarterback position.
So 2nd and 6 for the BC Lions. These two teams splitting their first 2 meetings. And Buck Pierce has Paris Jackson a first down across midfield, and he'll be edged out at the Rider bench at the Saskatchewan 50-yard line.
And for Buck Pierce to have a better evening and a more consistent evening, he has to need his big slot backs inside, and Paris Jackson and G-Roy Simon to come up with plays like this. Sure catches, some yards after the catch, and continue to move the chains to get more opportunities offensively.
Just 6 catches for 72 yards combined for Paris Jackson and G-Roy Simon last week in the loss in Calgary. There's Ryan Grace mulling the hitch and down the sidelines, tiptoeing, and he did step out at the 35-yard line. But that's another Lion first down.
Trying to work Ryan Grice-Mullen more and more into the offense as he gets more confidence on the special teams. He's shown that he can return kicks, he can return punts, and gets more confidence. You can see him just tightrope walk that white stripe. Of
course, the first game of the year, Grice-Mullen with the drop or the no catch in the final minute, which would have won the game for the Lions. First down, and Pierce over the middle, and Rolly Lambala, the fullback, is tossed down by Omar Morgan at the 26-yard line. The starting quarterbacks brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL.
Wally Buono made no bones about it. The difference between 5 and 7 and 7 and 5 is the play at quarterback, and there are some now whispering that Darian Durant should be considered as an outstanding player candidate with the way he has evolved throughout the season.
Well, all the talk here today and in the lead-up was about Buck Pierce, who starts 4 for 4. Martel Mallet on 2nd and short will get another first down for the Lions.
Well, there's no question that Wally Buono said the entire offense can improve. Martel Mallet has been as good as they've felt he could be as a rookie in the CFL, over 1,000 yards. He's got a receiving core. The 2 slot backs have got to be more prominent for this offense to be successful. And then an offensive line with 1 change. Demaine Duckett out at right tackle for Jason Jimenez.
Lions marching on their opening possession. First down. Will fake to Mallet, and he does get it out to Jackson, who steps out with Sean Lucas in the neighborhood. They'll mark him at the 18 and a gain of around 4.
As far as the regular season goes, Chris, I don't know that I can remember when there's been more pressure on a quarterback, and he's up against Buck Pierce, this Saskatchewan defense that ranks 2nd against the pass, and they're good up front with Stevie Baggs and John Chick coming off the edge. Mike McCullough's been outstanding in 6 starts in the middle, and there's the secondary with Donovan Alexander back at corner.
11 sacks in the first 2 against the Lions, and a pass over the middle complete to Emmanuel Arsenault. Another BC first down.
This is a good start for Buck Pierce, though, because when Wally Buono really broke it down, it was one of the first times in a lot of press conferences that we've sat in with the head coach where he has actually really singled out a player and said that he has to improve. And he said his quarterback, Buck Pierce, has to, and he's out to a good start in this drive. 6 for 6 so far.
And first and goal from inside the 10. Martel Mallet crashing down to the 2-yard line. Marcus Adams prevents a touchdown. Mallet with 136 yards rushing and a touchdown last week in Calgary, his second 100-yard game, and he crashed over 1,000 last week at Big Bend.
And that first game, Mallet against Saskatchewan had a 10-yard average. Saskatchewan did better against him in game 2. They work him into the offense.
23 carries, 162 against the Roughriders in 2 starts. Second and goal, back to Mallet, and Mallet stood up, lunges, Does he break the plane? Ruled down. They'll set up 3rd down at the 1.
And decision time out of the gate for Wally Buono. Mallet was second effort here. He was caught in the backfield. Initial contact made by Stevie Baggs, but again, Mike McCullough steps up in that hole.
And McCullough's done a nice job. Ray Williams is back. Should see a 1/3 of the plays on defense tonight. Wally Buono's going for it. 3rd and goal from the 1. How many times have the Lions had trouble down in this neighborhood over the last couple of years? As Travis Lulay checks in for Buck Pierce.
Well, they really have, and they're going to keep receivers out wide, try and spread it out a little bit more than they usually have.
3rd and 1 with Lambala and Mallet, and it is Mallet. And
I don't think so.
Stopped. Ray Williams says no. So first McCullough, then Williams, and another goal line stand will haunt the Lions.
Laurie Hoover of Castlegar, BC. You could win a 2009 Nissan Rogue SL of a kickoff's return for a touchdown in tonight's game. Thanks to Safeway's Touchdown to Win promotion, and if a second kickoff is returned, you could win $1 million. Chris?
Down, baby. Can't keep you down.
Thank you, David. Ray Williams with the big play early. He was hurt here in BC back in early August. Makes an impact on the return visit, but the Roughriders have to start at their own 1-yard line. Let's take a look at Williams' big defensive stop.
Well, let's go back to linebacker play at its absolute best as Ray Williams down the goal line for the BC Lions. That last yard has felt like an acre. Williams steps in there and drives his hips through this tackle and keeps his feet chugging as he makes contact on Mallet in the hole, then drive, and knock him back. That's textbook linebacker play. And a little help from Stevie Baggs in the tackle as well.
Last 2 plays, Baggs made contact, and then the middle linebacker made the play. 2nd and long. Durant over the middle. He's got Andy Fantuz for a big 1st down in front of the safety, Baron Miles.
And this just buys the Saskatchewan Roughriders room to punt the ball if they absolutely have to, but there's a lot of pressure on a quarterback when he's in the pocket, standing in his own goal line and in his own end zone, and having to deliver a pass like that over that danger zone over the middle, and Andy Fantuz reaches out and snags a good throw and catch.
Despite 3 interceptions last week, Ken Miller felt it was one of his best efforts of the year. Darian Durant with 269 yards, 70% under terrible conditions at Commonwealth. Here's Teron Walker, another 1st down. Walker celebrating his 26th birthday tonight. Let's set the offense. The starting lineup brought to you by Nissan, fan and proud sponsor of the CFL.
Well, you just saw Darian Durant with a good start and a nice throw from his own end zone area. He's got Wes Cates in the backfield. There's the receiving core. Weston Dressler is the target that every defense is game planning against. And there's the offensive line. Gene Makowski, 246 games.
Back-to-back 1st downs up at the 33. And Wes Cates will kick it outside. Bertoni will stop it with Cates near another 1st down. Up across the 40-yard line.
Defensively for the BC Lions, Ricky Foley is on a bit of a tear. 2 games, 4 sacks for Foley over the last 2. He's got Brent Johnson on the other side, has 6 on the season. There's the linebacking core with Corey Banks as the tweener in that group. He'll be the cover down linebacker. And a secondary, Baron Miles on 60 career interceptions. Thought he had 61 last week. It wasn't to be.
Mark Cates of the 44, so it's a 1st down, gain of 11. Back in his hands. And this time, the door slammed shut across the 45. Run defense, of course, an issue here in BC. After again last week, touched up by Joffrey Reynolds and company for over 200 yards.
Well, they ranked dead last against the run at 147 per game. So Juwan Armour is key to that, and so is Mike Benavides, and what he did this week was to simplify the defense.
2nd and 8. 6 receivers out. Durant stands in. Weston Dressler the catch. And he's brought down by Tristan George. Let's see where they spot it. He gets a good spot. The first down, just shy of midfield.
You can see that there's been changes in the defense for the BC Lions with Steve Williams in the middle of that defense, and they've moved Corey Banks into linebacker. That throw to Weston Dressler right on the first down marker. Tristan George in a corner. Got to try and adapt, so they simplified this week to see if they can improve that run defense first.
9 for Dressler, another first down. Roughriders marching, and Durant flushed. On a roll, he'll take off. And Darian Durant easily cruises out of bounds with another Saskatchewan first down, a drive that started on the Rough Rider 1-yard line.
Well, what a great drive. I mean, when you think of the play by Ray Williams down on the goal line has just inspired this entire team. Darian Durant with a second down throw, 4 yards deep in his end zone to move the chains and get him out of trouble. And now they're knocking on the door.
Only Henry Burris and Quentin Porter have rushed for more among CFL quarterbacks this year. 12 on that run. Good-looking drive, and now Cates. And he is met by Darren Toney. And John Armour mentioned, until we stop the run, we've got a target on our back as the BC Lions defense against the run.
I hope that Steve Williams in the middle will help, but when you look at these numbers, yeah, there it is. Plain and simple. First downs allowed, dead last. Rushing yards allowed, dead last. Really puts you in a bind when you're in second and short, second and medium defensively all day long, and that's what Mike Benavides is trying to fix.
Second and 8 here. 5 receivers out. Kate stays in. Pressure, and they get to Durant. Durant dropped back at the 50-yard line. There's the former Rough Rider, Anton McKenzie, who was blitzing.
But a real successful drive, nonetheless, for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And this time, you're going to see full blitz coming from the linebacking core of the BC Lions. They're sending everybody. Someone's going to be unblocked. And it was not McKay Loescher off the edge, the first guy, and Anton McKenzie in there, and he got the sack. But a successful drive for Saskatchewan based on where they started from.
4th sack of the year, and now Ian Smart and Ryan Grice Mullen drop deep. What about Jamie Borum last week in those windy conditions in Edmonton?
Well, you have got to spy Jamie Borum these days. You've got to watch him. Make sure he kicks it.
Ryan Grice Mullen. James Patrick is there. And also Kitwana Jones flying down on punt cover. Wendy's CFL on TSN Friday Night Football is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the Canadian Football League. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939. Lions back to work on offense. Martel Mallet up to the 15-yard line, so a first down pickup of 5.
All the pressure in the world on this football player right here, Buck Pearson, and he handled it in that first drive very well. Went 6 for 6. And amazingly, the BC Lions come away with no points because of the play by Ray Williams on the goal line. Now they have to try and forget about that disappointment, shake that off, and try and get another drive going.
10-play drive that stalled at the Saskatchewan 1, 2nd and 5. Here's hit, but delivers, and Arsenault has a catch and a first down. Eddie Davis the tackle.
Oh boy.
And yikes. Buck Pierce shaken up.
He's not moving that passing arm around a whole lot as he tries to get the feeling back in it. Take a look at the hit that he took after the throw here.
John Chick.
Nothing outside the rules there.
He remains perfect, 7 for 7. Gives it back to Mallet. John Chick is in the neighborhood again.
You know, he's due for a big game, Chris. He really is. You know, look at his totals: 8 sacks on the year, and a couple of forced fumbles, a couple of fumble recoveries. And John Chick hasn't had a sack in the last 2 games, so you know he's due.
we've heard from Chick, Stevie Baggs, Ray Williams, and Williams checks back in to the Rough Rider defense in a passing situation. 2nd and 11. Pierce. Chick in pursuit. Pierce airing it out. And he's got G-Roy Simon in behind Sean Lucas. And finally out at the 28-yard line. But Buck Pierce is hurt again.
Well, he took an even harder hit this time, and I believe it was John Chick again. When he buys some time and gets out of the pocket, he gets drilled, and he has to pay the price here. G-Roy Simon's in behind coverage, but watch as he extends the play to the outside to his left, and he is going to get labeled. It is John Chick one more time. Real slow to get up. Now, G-Roy Simon wins this fight down at the opposite end. He's one-on-one with Sean Lucas. Subtle push to buy him some space, and G-Roy Simon's in behind coverage.
60 yards. That's G-Roy Simon's biggest play of the year. Travis Lulay starts the warm-up. This is interesting because Buck Pierce went to the bench, looked like he was going to put a knee down, and then got back in the huddle. And throws a strike to Paris Jackson at the 25-yard line.
Well, this has been a concern for BC Lions fans ever since Buck Pierce has been the starting quarterback. Every time he gets hit, everyone sort of holds their breath in this province that he is going to be able to get himself up. He did make his way to the sideline, then came back on. Lulay is the backup. Jarius Jackson not dressed. Zach Champion after Lulay.
Sorb playing with a hot hand right now. 9 for 9 and a 128 yards. And that one batted down, so the perfect streak over as Stevie Baggs disrupts the play.
You know, and the one thing you know is Buck Pierce is doing everything in his power to stay in this football game, to keep things going offensively. I think he has got to be looking at the next couple of games, Chris, as really determining his future here in BC. It's bigger than just a win tonight for Buck Pierce.
Jarius Jackson could be ready as early as next week, and Casey Printers gets closer. And when the coach starts talking about your performance, you better deliver. Sean White does. Oh no, they're still scoreless. As White off the upright, and unbelievably after those 3 drives, still no blood drawn. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. What a dynamic opening quarter, which doesn't have a point yet. Hard to believe the way the two offenses have moved. 3 of the last 4 Lions games have seen scoreless first quarters. Waits inside, not much there.
Wes Cates is starting to get into that form that we're used to seeing from Wes Cates. I think last year he ran the ball so much early on in the season that he started to wear down as the season went on. This year they're trying to ease him into it, so down the stretch here in this last third they can really go to him a bunch more.
Different defensive set for Mike Benavides as they pull back and now line up, and a hot road. Is it caught? Dressler up with it. Let's see. The Lions say the ball hit the turf, but they're marking it as a completion, and that's the second time tonight Weston Dressler has made a catch for a first down.
Yeah, and you know that the Lions coaching staff is trying to get this, take a look at this quickly to see if this is worth the challenge flag. And tough to see there. It goes right behind the goalpost. Does that ball bounce off the turf?
Tough to tell. No challenge flag. And the Rough Riders up over the ball. At the 40 and just a yard for Jerron Walker on the final play of a good opening quarter. And we are scoreless in Vancouver. First quarter numbers are brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Amazing. 2 good drives by the BC Lions, but they come away with no points. A huge play on the goal line by Ray Williams. One good drive by Saskatchewan started on their own 1-yard line. They come away with no points, but a very, very interesting first quarter.
Absolutely. That's the 5th consecutive first quarter the Lions have not allowed a point. They're probably a little less happy about the way it ended than Saskatchewan.
Well, they are, because they had opportunities for points down on the 1-yard line and a missed field goal. Buck Pearso was the guy with all the pressure on him coming into this game. Head coach Wally Buono actually called him out in the press conference yesterday, saying quarterback position has to be more consistent. He's already taken a beating again, but he has responded in this first quarter.
Throwing hand has been cut. They're working on Pierce on the sidelines as Wally Buono watches the Saskatchewan Roughriders on offense. 2nd and 9 at the Saskatchewan 40-yard line. 2 backs. And Durant has pressure. And Durant down for the 2nd time. Ricky Foley has his league-leading 10th sack.
And the 5th sack for Ricky Foley in 2 games and a quarter. He is coming on pace for 14 on the season, and everyone was real concerned when Cameron Wake departed for the National Football League. He had 22 last year, and if Foley can get to 14, 15 sacks, I would say that's exceeding expectations.
Bryce Mullen awaits. And here's Borum. End over end kick. Ryan Bryce Mullen at his 40. And Sean Lucas will bring him down after a short return. Let's check in with Perry Solkowski.
Chris, it's been a very painful couple of minutes for Buck Pierce on his right finger. He's ripped his fingernail. A lot of pain, a lot of blood on the sidelines, but he's okay. Had time to mention that he got a shot in the ribs, but like you said, he started very well. And boys, he's a gamer, and he's out there again.
You cannot question the courage of Buck Pierce. You know, he has that.
So back to work. Tosses it. Ryan Bryce Mullen in the backfield. Look out! Great speed, and Bryce Mullen rips it inside the Rough Rider 45-yard line.
A lot of people here in Vancouver have been a little critical of the offense and said that at times it seems predictable. Well, this is a brand new wrinkle for the BC Lion offense to get Ryan Mullen in the backfield, really that tailback position. Give him a little toss, get him in space, and then let him use his God-given ability to make some moves in the open field.
Hasn't had the receiving numbers the Lions have wanted, but has become a dangerous kick returner, and they're out of the backfield with a 24-yard run. Martel Mallet slicing. Close to another first down to the Rough Rider 35. Mallet has 9.
Now, courage is part of the puzzle and a big part in football. Obviously, Buck Pierce has that, but consistency is what Wally Buono wants to see. And last week versus Calgary, he got off to a great start as well. 11 of 15, 158, did not throw an interception. Now, the second half was very different for Buck Pierce. He went 6 for 12, 72 yards, and had the interception, a key one, to Keon Raymond.
Second short, Mallet has that and a lot more. Brought down at the Rough Rider 23-yard line. Eddie Davis finally had to put the stop on Martel Mallet.
And if he can get Martel Mallet established and have success like this, it opens up things for Buck Pierce in a big way. Now that play action becomes that much more important when he wants to fake it to Mallet. What a rookie campaign as the BC Lions once again find an outstanding rookie nominee.
Big trains rolling 460 yards in the last 4 weeks. 1st and 10. Pierce lots of time. End zone, Simon draws the flag. Omar Morgan brings down G. Simon in the end zone.
Boy, it's something you don't often see from Omar Morgan, and that's for him to sort of panic as the ball arrives. That ball was thrown to the deep back of the end zone.
Pass interference, Saskatchewan, number 1. Foul occurred and goal. Ball will be at the 1-yard line. First down.
G. Simon comes from the slot back position, but he's going to layer here and then get to the outside and basically go right down the rail on Omar Morgan. And I mentioned the veteran in Morgan, 10 years in the league. You don't often see that, but Geroy Simon got in behind him. He thought, I might as well tackle him or it's a touchdown.
Back down to the Rough Rider 1, and Travis Lule back in. This time they've got 3 to cash, and they're going to need one more, at least. Iguana Jones with the stop that time, and how many times have the Lions struggled in this type of situation?
Well, it's just a matter of leverage, getting low, and driving your legs, and you can see how the Saskatchewan Roughriders up front are winning that battle.
Started last year in Montreal, but time and time again it haunted them in the Western Final against Calgary. 2nd and goal, 2 backs behind Lule. Bryce Mullen in motion. Martel Mallet, no, and they lose yards here. And will Wally Bono go for it on 3rd and 3? Marcus Chunky Adams blocked the hole.
Chris, I don't think he can. I think he's got to send the field goal team out here, or this is another monumental stop for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and that change of momentum. You're right, it was Marcus Adams with great penetration. If you're down on the goal line and you let defensive linemen get in the backfield, it is over. John Chick is there again.
So White, who hit the upright on his first attempt, has a chip shot here. And the Lions take the lead, but it was tough sledding to get it. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Molson Canadian. This is our beer. Friday night football at BC Place Stadium in Vancouver. I don't know. Early second quarter, it's been a good start to this game as we expect most of these Western Division clashes down the stretch into the final third of the regular season are going to be urgency for the Lions and an all-important game for Saskatchewan in pursuit for first place in the West. Locked in that tie with Calgary at the moment. Here's Stu Ford and met by the gunner downfield. That's Jerome Dennis, first man down.
Darian Durant, 14 touchdown passes on the season coming in, 16 interceptions. Last time these two teams met in game 1, he had 313 yards passing, 3 interceptions and 1. And then in the next game against the BC Lions, had 2 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, did not win. But Ken Miller has done an excellent job of managing Darian Durant, letting him evolve, letting him learn from his mistakes.
Starts at the 25, a play action fake to set things up, and a pass behind Chris Getzlaff incomplete.
And you consider he's 11-5 as a starter now, and Ken Miller has his football team tied with the Calgary Stampeders for first place in the West Division with a quarterback that has had 16 starts. Truly amazing when you think about it, and the development and evolution of Darian Durant.
A couple of great head-to-head battles in the last 2 weeks against Ricky Ray. 1-1 in those, 2nd and 10. He'll swing it out, and here's Wes Cates trying to get to the edge. Tripped up on his own and falls to the 30 short of the first down.
Turf Monster got Wes Cates because he might have had a chance there. It would have been close, but he had Corey Banks chasing him down. Contact would have been made about a yard or 2 away from the first down marker. And remember, Wes Cates is a big back. He's 220 pounds coming out here. But the Turf Monster grabs him right about there.
He tried to shift gears there, make a little move on Banks, and tackled himself. And Borum back out. And no play. Somebody moved. as the "Let's Go Riders" chant echoes through BC Place.
We hear that everywhere, don't we?
Yes,
across this country.
Everywhere.
Legal procedure. Saskatchewan number 35, 5-yard penalty, third down repeated.
Daniel Francis moved prematurely.
Rider Nation stretches from coast to coast.
They are everywhere. So they mark it back 5. Borum's kick. Bryce Mullen lets it hit the turf.
Here comes Borum.
And no yards will be the call of the 5-yard variety after a 35-yard Borum kick. Three 0 Lions. Let's check back in with Perry Solkowski.
Chris, Rider Nation can do nothing but make you smile. The fans are everywhere. Rob Begg, who's still in his second year, can't believe how much support the Riders get when they go out west. But you know what? When they come to BC Place, it's not a house of horrors because in the last 10 times they've visited, they've left with 6 wins.
3 wins in the last 5. Mark fakes. Short, goes deep, wide open. Oh no, Emmanuel Arsenault couldn't hold on.
Puck got rocked again.
And this is not a recording. Over and over, Buck Pierce keeps dragging himself off the turf.
Emmanuel Arsenault did everything in his power to run under this one. Pressure on Buck Pierce as he goes to unload. Marcus Adams puts the hit on him and just barely overthrows Arsenault, who gets his hands on it, but just couldn't survive the impact with the turf and was wide open.
Already has taken 6 hits, and we haven't reached the midway point of this second quarter. 2nd and 10, Paris Jackson, great catch in front of Sean Lucas, showing his great hands. Paris Jackson, the leading Canadian receiver in the CFL.
Buck Pierce doesn't show any ill effect from the last hit or the 3 previous. Steps into this throw and throws it up to where Paris Jackson has a chance, has to fight for it, and he wins the fight with Sean Lucas. Catching the football with your hands, and that fundamental, crucial for Paris Jackson there. Not letting it hit your shoulder pads first.
21 yards for Jackson. Bunch to the wide side. They pitch wide side. Martel Mallet. And he's brought down immediately. Good play by the corner, Donovan Alexander.
Well, once again, Buck Pierce has had to pick himself up off the turf after some hits. That was probably the softest of the 3 or 4. This was a big one. John Chick rocks him after throwing one to Giro Simon, and there's Marcus Adams. Just keep picking himself up and dusting himself off.
Loss of 2, 2nd and 12. Pierce, Giro Simon couldn't bring it down, and he could have run a little ways. Giro coming into the game 74 yards short of moving into 8th place on the all-time receiving list.
That ball just a little high, you know, and a lot of pressure on the Lions up front too, with Jason Jimenez out of the lineup, and of course Stevie Baggs and John Chick on the other side. Marcus Adams getting some penetration in this game, the line of scrimmage, so got to try and keep Buck Pierce on his feet, and they're up against one of the top defensive lines in the game.
White off the upright from 31, this from 42 yards out, and this one splits the uprights and doubles the Lions' lead with just over 7 minutes left. First half in Vancouver. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. John White has kicked a pair of field goals in this game. Jason Armstead drops back. 6-0 Lions. BC looking for its 6th win of the year. Armstead with a nice shift. Up close to the 40-yard line. CFL on TSN. Action continues tomorrow. Another doubleheader of games. Game 1. First place Alouettes take on the Argonauts. And in Game 2, the Ticats meet the Stampeders. Live coverage gets underway at 2:30 Eastern, 9:30. Or 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. And Hamilton Tiger Cats better take note after another win by the Blue Bombers to make things a little more interesting.
The Calgary Stampeders, of course, watching this game.
Durant looking deep, looking for Dressler. Ryan Phillips has another interception and another pick against the Roughriders. It's uncanny. His 4th of the year, all against Saskatchewan.
And in the last 8 games that Ryan Phillips has played the Saskatchewan Roughriders, including this first half, would be 8.5. He now has 8 interceptions against Saskatchewan. When he plays against the green and white, he makes a play somewhere along the way. And in 2007, 3 games, he had 4 picks. Now 8 total in 8.5 games. That ball slightly underthrown by Darian Durant and gave him a chance.
17th interception thrown by Durant. That's 6 for the Lions now. Martel Mallet off the left side. Tad Cornegay a tackle. Darian Durant said one of the interceptions last week at Edmonton, he didn't have his feet set. He said if you don't set your feet, don't make the throw. And watch the footwork here. A little bit awkward under pressure.
Well, you know, Chris Best looked like he bumped him. He went to step into it, and his offensive lineman got pushed back.
Everybody home, 206. Love y'all, man. Everybody, man. Deal everybody.
So Durant tried to step into that throw, and he got hit by his offensive lineman, and then he took all the heat off him.
Now Pierce chucks a first down completion. And G. Simon has another catch, and they're back into Rough Rider territory at the Saskatchewan 46.
G. Simon climbs up the all-time list. He just passed Daryl Mitchell, moving to 8th spot with 12,016 yards and counting. And he will be in that race with Ben Cahoon as they try and move up the chart.
Not surprising he's top 10 material all time. Surprising he isn't in the top 10 in 2009. Came into the game at 11th spot. And receiving, here's Pierce flushed. He takes off first time and hits the deck quickly.
Yeah, it is surprising, and it's surprising to a lot of fans here in British Columbia as well that G. Simon is on pace for under 1,000 yards this year. And everyone in Vancouver wanting to see the star receiver for this football team have the ball thrown his direction a lot more. And those are just not typical G. Simon numbers. But inconsistency at quarterback can do that to a receiver.
8 of 12 games, Simon has been limited to under 50 yards receiving. 2nd and 6. Pierce to Mallet out of the backfield. Tad Cornegay tosses him close to that first down stick. And it is a first down for BC. And yesterday, Buck Pierce talked about Martel Mallet becoming more important in the offense as a receiver, still learning that part of the game in his rookie year.
Boy, that's a similar play to the one they had last week on 3rd down to try and come back on Calgary. That time he one-hopped it to Mallet. This time, right on the money.
First down at the 35. Ryan Grace Mullen with a shift, but Mike McCullough didn't bite. What a great open field tackle by the veteran middle linebacker.
Well, it's a good situation for Ken Miller right now on defense with Ray Williams coming back. This is his 2nd game in the play of Mike McCullough, who, when you make a change and you think your backup linebacker, what will happen? How far will you get behind the 8 ball if you have to put in your backup? That has not been the case at all for Saskatchewan. Mike McCullough has stepped up, and they have not missed a beat with him in there.
McCullough and Williams now in. They go to 3 down alignment.
And this is the luxury they have. They can play them both.
2nd and 9, and hand off to Mark Martel Mallon. Meet John Chick. What a defensive play. Chick's had himself a strong first half.
From the outside, little inside move right there. And I believe it's Demain Duckett, that new tackle that John Chick just took advantage of.
Tough to break in your first CFL start against a defensive end of the ilk of John Chick. And now White has to attempt from 45 yards out. And White misses that to the left side. And it'll be brought out by Armstead. We saw Javon Johnson earlier today. Armstead not as dangerous there as Labala brings him down at the 14-yard line. But the Lions come up empty on that drive. Fast-paced first half, 2:41 left, and then we'll check in with Rhoda at the half. And get the take of Dave Randorf, Jock Climby, Matt Dunnigan, and Chris Schultz about what's been an interesting first half of football here at BC Place Stadium. A couple of Sean White misses, a couple of Sean White field goals. 6-0 Lions. West Case not able to find any room up the middle. Aaron Hunt was waiting.
Well, after that last miss by Sean White, he went to the sideline, and Paul McCallum, who is not dressed on the 46, went to give him encouragement. And they do work together, even though this week it has been quite a storyline. Paul McCallum asked to be traded if he wasn't going to play. He asked Wally Guano to trade him, and Wally Guano said he's not going to. He's not thinking, but McCallum is healthy. And told me he's been making field goals from outside, like kicking from 60 yards out, feels strong and ready to go. Wally Guano feels that Sean White has not lost his job. And that storyline was prominent this week.
There's Don Sweet now, the kicking coach for the Lions. Guy who really stresses the mental part of the game now, working with Sean White.
Well, I understand Wally Guano's thought on Sean White being that he is the future. He's a young guy. The concern is, you know Paul McCallum's track record in big games. You know that he's had that pressure on him. You don't know with Sean White.
Second and long, Darian Durant looking outside, and he's got Fantus. Talked about Paris Jackson's hands, and there's another great Canadian receiver with sure hands, Andy Fantus.
Oh, without question, and Andy Fantus here is going to make a nice move, first of all, on Ryan Phillips to freeze him. That gives him that 1.5 yards of separation. When he chopped his feet there, and watch how Durant throws him to the sideline and lets him reach out, so that Ryan Phillips has no shot at a second interception.
Canadian player of the week last week, Fantus, his best game of the year, 7 for 71. And quick hitter to Chris Getzlaff, and Dante Marsh is there. Ball popped loose after the whistle. Rolled dead at the 35. And a gain of around 5 yards for Getzlaff.
Been a real interesting half. Take another look at this play and make sure that the whistle blew at the right time.
Anton McKenzie begged to differ. They give him forward progress at the 37. Challenge flag is out from Wally Guano. It's been a clean first half, I think. 3 penalties.
Well, the
none
ball
in the first quarter.
Sorry, Chris, the ball came out in that last one before Getzlaff was on the ground. Question was that whistle.
Yeah, the whistle that had blown. And
BC is challenging the ruling on the field that the forward progress will stop. The play will be reviewed.
so this will go to the command center. I agree, he wasn't down when the ball came loose, but you could hear the whistles. And will that be enough to overturn the play?
Did anyone else stop? Initial hit from Dante Marsh. Anton McKenzie pops it out there. So clearly Getzlaff was not down yet. But the other thing is that the referees can stop.
Review. The ball carrier forward progress was stopped before he fumbled the ball. Therefore, Saskatchewan retains possession of the ball. Second down.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, is that just prior to blowing the whistle, if forward progress by the ball carrier or receiver is stopped, then basically the play is dead in the mind of the official, and that was that close. Tough to criticize that one. You need conclusive evidence to overturn.
You could argue quick whistle, but yeah, again, the whistle had sounded. Second down, Durant. And a mix-up or a botched play as Durant is dropped for a loss, and it'll bring up third down.
Mike Benavides told me he simplified things a little bit because of all the personnel changes that he's gone through with Steve Williams in the middle. Juwan Armour is a new addition, really, when you consider it. And then Tristan George in the secondary. Started to think maybe I'm having the players think too much rather than just react. And this defense looks better in this game tonight than they have over the last couple of weeks.
Lions have had tough second quarters this year, outscored 142-77, but they continue to pitch a shutout here for the opening 28 minutes here at BC Place. Second quarter had been the best for the Roughriders this season. Grace Mullen gets to the edge, flag down, and Jamie Borum just sent Ryan Grace Mullen airborne. Might have been a penalty flag, but Borum wanted to make sure.
I have a feeling that Jamie Borum is in the weight room these days.
Holding during the run back. BC number 25, 10-yard penalty. First down.
He is running, kicking on the run. He's faking punts and making big plays and taking hits like that. And then he's delivering much like a linebacker as Jamie Bourne steps in to Grace Mullen there.
Folks, the punter is a candidate for hit of the year.
Manitoba, he used to be a safety, so he knows how to hit.
Safeties can hit.
Good safeties can hit. He was a good safety in college.
Buck Pierce, the out. Tiger Larson will step up with a first down. You know, it's Frazier in the trail position.
Chris, when you look at this first half, as it winds down here, you know, BC has really had the edge. You take a look at Buck Pierce, has really responded to the pressure put on him by his head coach in the press conference yesterday. Good completion percentage, 181 yards. But the Riders have really weathered the storm when you look at the scoreboard. I mean, when you're on the road, you can stay within a touchdown, keep it close, and then get a good second half. That's what you look for.
85 seconds left. Pierce comes, and Paris Jackson this time can't squeeze the football at midfield.
And you know, he'll be the first to tell you that those are the plays that come back to haunt you later in the game, because you can't throw it any better. And Paris Jackson took a peek. Just as that ball was arriving, his head turned to the right just for a second to take a look at where the pressure was coming from, or if he could take off and run, and he took his concentration off the football.
So 4 incompletions for Pierce, 2 drops by the Lion receivers. Second and 10 with 4 receivers wide side. And Pierce hit as he threw. And the ball falls, fortunately for Pierce, incomplete. And again, Buck is going to have to be helped up. He has been battered in this first half.
A little pressure coming off the edge from Tad Cornegay as he slips underneath the block of Demaine Duckett. And as Buck Pierce is trying to throw, he gets underneath the right shoulder.
It's not as bad as week 1 when Saskatchewan had 9 sacks with Walter Stith at left tackle, but they put a lot of pressure on the Lions quarterback in this first half, and yet Buck Pierce has impressive numbers. He got a few bruises to show.
Buck Pierce is playing for his career, I think, more than even a game.
Legal procedure. BC number 47, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
James Juracek moved prematurely.
And he is in that spot now, Chris, with 31 starts coming into this game, this being his 32nd. His record of 2-5 this year, and all the pressure his head coach put on him. He is right now playing for his career, and he might have to lose that right arm before he comes out of this game. I mean, I don't think Wally Guano made any bones about it yesterday. He had to play better, or they were going to start to look elsewhere.
On the run, a short kick, and Armstead fields it. Roughriders are going to have good field position. 67 seconds left on the clock, trying to break the goose egg here in the first half as they'll start from their own 50-yard line.
Well, that's what I mean about this first half. I mean, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have really not been the dominant team in the first half. However, there's lots of time with 1:07 to go for Darian Durant to get a drive going here, starting on his own 50. He gets a major here. They go in at halftime with a 1-point lead.
They can steal the half. And you'd think Darian Durant should get some good blocking here tonight. Took out the offensive lineman for dinner last night.
It's never a bad decision.
He gets hit as he delivers. And that ball falls well short of the target. Weston Dressler was the intended receiver, and there's Steve Williams in on the quarterback. And it's Durant trying to shake off a hit.
Yeah, both these quarterbacks have not had the luxury of being able to step into throws like you mentioned, Chris. I mean, Durant doesn't want to have to make a throw if he can't step into it. Well, he's trying to, but there seems to be an orange jersey or his offensive lineman in his lap, and he's not been able to.
Second and 10 as it gets loud here at BC Place. Here comes the rush. They'll screen it off. And Chris Getzlaff has a first down. Chris Getzlaff all the way down to the line, 42.
Oh, I love the play call because they load up the right side of the formation, and Paul LaPolice picks the perfect time to have Getzlaff line up basically as a tight end, then slip out of there, look like he's going to block Brent Johnson, and then slip out of there with lots of blocking help in front of him, including big Gene Mikowski, who blocks up Corey Banks to get that first down. What a play call by LaPolice.
Big 18 yards, 40 seconds left. Here in the first half, 4 receivers wide side, and they throw that way. Rob Banks separated from the football by Tristan George, the field corner. And Rob Bagg doesn't put many down, but he took a lick from Tristan George.
No, he doesn't. And in fact, his best game of the season and a real breakout game for Rob Bagg was against the BC Lions, but this time Tristan George just stepped into it. Perfect timing by the corner off the edge, who's still looking for his first interception.
In his 10th start, the man who replaced Lamar Glover early this season. Second and 10, 32 seconds remaining. Riders go 2 backs, and Durant rolls right, gets hit again, and Bagg can't make the spectacular sideline catch. And it falls incomplete.
Mentioned Gene Mikowski, 246th game, and that ties Ron Lancaster, the late Ron Lancaster, for second all-time. Rough Rider history. And how versatile has Gene Mikowski been? Usually when you get older, you get set in your ways. In 15 seasons in the CFL, he's had 4 starts inside at guard, coming off injury, 4 starts outside at left tackle. Wherever they ask Gene Mikowski to play, he shows up and plays well.
Well, the Rough Riders unable to enhance their field goal position, and Kanji has to attempt one from 49 yards out. This would be his longest of the season. The special team player of the month of September starts October with a bang. Big kick, and they do get 3.
Well, that's a big momentum grabber for Saskatchewan, because it could be a lot worse after this first half if not for the play of their defense, especially down on the goal line, because the BC Lions have had some opportunities for majors, and the door has been shut by Ray Williams, by Marcus Adams, by John Chick and Stevie Baggs and the rest of this Saskatchewan defense. Their goal line defense is the reason that they are close and in this game and grab some momentum with that 3-point field goal right there.
A momentum booster from Kanji, who has hit on 13 of his last 14. Number 97 has had himself a first half for Saskatchewan.
On his son's birthday, understand? So John Chick, a nice birthday present. He's got a good first half going, and boy, they're tough off the edge when you have Stevie Baggs and John Chick.
Jamie Borum gets a chance to make another special teams tackle. You'd say 6-3 can't be much of a game. It's been terrific. And squib kick. One of the up men. Look out. That's Andrew Jones, who probably touched the ball for the first time in his CFL career.
Yeah, for Andrew Jones, you really had to say, the ball is your friend. Do not be afraid of it. He didn't want any part of it until it bounced right up in his hands.
Yeah, that brings some smiles at the Lions bench.
He was looking at it like, what is this?
Rookie out of McMaster.
I played a lot of football. I've never seen one of these. What does it do?
So let's see what the Lions do with this final 20 seconds. Buck Pierce going to throw one, and O'Neal Wilson has the catch and a first down at the 53. They've got 13 seconds left, and Buck Pierce has time. Look at, he's still in pain as he winces after a first down grab.
Yeah, he rolls away from the pressure. Saskatchewan was coming from off a blitz, and he rolls away from it and hits O'Neal Wilson. Now with about a 10-15 pound yard completion, have a chance for a field goal attempt.
Trying to neutralize the impact of the Kanji 49-yarder here in the last minute. Taking a lot of time, and now has Simon in the field goal range with 5 seconds, 6 seconds on the clock.
How about the heads-up play of Geroy Simon? Buck Pierce steps into that throw, but Simon knew that the time was running out on the half. Usually on a play like that over the middle, Simon's going to turn around, take that ball, and try to make something happen after the catch. Nice little swim move to get open in the middle. He knows the time. He has great awareness on the field. Gets down so he can get his field goal team out.
What are the Lions doing? They're going to go for it, and they let the clock run out. They elect not to try a 49-yarder with the rookie.
Wow.
That's a strange call.
Wow.
But maybe Buck Pierce can make it look good. He's going to go deep. Simon, jump ball. 3 riders are there. It falls incomplete. So 2 misses by White. And Wally Bono doesn't let him try a 49-yarder on the final play of the first half.
Live at the Half is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939.
Big heavyweight battle under the big top in Vancouver. 6-3 at the half. Not a lot of points, but a lot to talk about. Dave, Chris, Matt, and Jock. Am I the only one who, I mean, Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter thought they should have tried that long field goal. But you leave yourself open for getting one taken back. A missed field goal. Did you not see the 118-yard return in the early game?
It's not the way you play the game.
That's how those things happen on the long field goals.
Put points on the board. Points are hard to come by. Kick the long field goal. Give your young kicker.
He's missed 2.
Then take it. Get over it.
Take a knee. Take a knee if you're that. If you don't have the confidence in your cover team.
He's a pro.
He's been all right, but not tonight. So anyway, I'm just offering the devil's advocate side of things. All right, let's get after this here. An amazing performance, I think, and Glenn Suter's been talking about it all night by Buck Pierce. He's under a lot of pressure to perform. However, Schulte, 2 missed field goals and 2 trips to the goal line with no points. Why? What's been going on?
The Saskatchewan Roughriders, the only reason they're in this game are 2 reasons. Number 1, their goal line defense, and number 2, John Chick from his defensive end position. Now, what I want you to notice here is how violent these hits are, because TV doesn't do its justice. Let's take a look at the first one right there. Bang! That is violent. Jock, what about this one coming up?
Well, this is Mallet not getting low enough, and I love him as a running back, but he needs to be down here at knee level getting into the end zone. He stands up 2 straight, and as a result doesn't get in.
And here, you watch Martel Mallet run into this one. It's like he's going to run into a brick wall. What you don't understand is trying to make these type of plays. These are all by design to get the penetration, to make them redirect, and that redirects the entire body by Martel Mouth. Now, the other issue on defense is the play of the individual, John Chick, from his defensive end position, John.
You know, he is a joy to watch, and here he is here on the end, and watch how he fights through two guys in order to get through to the running back. You know what? I don't normally like watching defensive linemen, Schulte, but I like watching him.
You know,
you
watch this one right here. Little outside-inside move makes the offensive tackle Damon Duckett look at. Get that right there. Excellent upper body tackle, John Chick. John.
You know, 6'3". And the guy said this has been an entertaining football game despite the score. I would usually disagree. In fact, I've heard you make comments like that before.
What?
And we've jumped all over you about it being, you know, good defensive battle and it's still entertaining. And I've jumped all over you. But in this case,
this is entertaining.
It is.
This is a heavyweight battle. It's an important 2 points on the line
rare
here.
defensive
Maybe
battles.
it's entertaining because BC's been going up and down the football field with 272 yards total offense in the first half and only has, 6 points on the board. It's because of that good D that's really stepped this up. And I can tell you, Buck Pierce, and I couldn't agree with Glenn Suter more, guys, is Buck Pierce is playing for his career. It's more than the game. It's more than his relationship and reputation with the city, with the folks and the fans of the BC Lions. He is playing for his career because he's got to step up, like his head coach, Wally Bottles, asked him to, and he is getting pummeled by a Saskatchewan defense that's lighting him up, and he's going above and beyond a Call of Duty, showing his toughness here. Buck Pierce just got, look at Tad Cornegate, tries to rip his arm off right here, and Buck Pierce refuses to give in to the relentless pressure by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And to me, you know, how can you not talk about Ricky Foley getting his 10th sack? You know, this guy is on fire. And BC, Saskatchewan, these guys are saying no to the offense.
Foley, the defensive player of the month. Buck Pierce, by the way, in his last 3 starts, 67% completion percentage. I mean, he's really been playing well. He's over 60% again tonight. We shall see. I think it's definitely going to open up in the second half. We'll see. There is Martel Mallet. This guy has been averaging 115 yards along the ground in his last 4 games. He needed 1 yard there and couldn't get it.
Gibson's Finest CFL Players of the Week is brought to you by Gibson's Finest Canadian Whiskey. Your whiskey, your way.
The Offensive Player of the Week goes to Montreal running back Avon Coburn. He ran for 193 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Owls' rout of Hamilton. Eskimos linebacker TJ Hill had 2 picks, including 1 for a touchdown to earn defensive honors. Winnipeg's Alexis Cerner won the special teams honors, and Saskatchewan's Andy Fantuz was top Canadian. Here are your halftime stats, brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, Chris Schultz.
David, only 6 points by the BC Lions, but a good game on offense right here. Those first downs, 15, time of possession dominant, but those 208 passing yards, those are a painful 208 passing yards.
Here is Wally Bono, who just spoke with our Perry Solkowski.
Coach, the first question about the last play of the half. Why not kick the field goal?
Well, it's a long field goal, and we were trying to get hopefully the ball out of bounds quick so we can get an extra 5 yards.
How frustrated are you with the offense and the finish that they didn't have in the first half?
Well, again, that's part of the game. They did a good job on the goal line. We're going to have to make some adjustments to that.
Thanks, Wally.
Thank you.
This is game 2 of our Wendy's Friday night doubleheader. Earlier tonight, Winnipeg was home to Edmonton. We got highlights tonight with Dan O'Toole from Sports.
Come see me.
TSN is the exclusive broadcaster of the Canadian Football League and proud home of the Grey Cup. Smash Mouth Knights in Vancouver. 6-3 Lions. Let's check in with Perry Solkowski and Rough Rider coach Ken Miller.
Coach, your thoughts on the first half?
Well, we have to move the ball more consistently, and we have to get them stopped. We have to play a really tremendous 30 minutes here in the second half.
Defense, keep it up.
Pardon me?
Your defense, keep it up and go after quarterback. Buck looks so hurt every time he gets hit.
Well, we've got to get after him, where we have to disrupt their passing game and continue to control their run.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Well, it's been great theater in this first half, watching a guy play for his job and play through pain and excel as Buck Pierce has.
Oh, bloodied and cleaved. Blood all over his pants. Has been picking himself up off the turf a ton. But the Riders still right in this game, thanks to their goal line defense more than anything else.
And they'll get it first here in the second half. Armstead under it at the 23. And he's upended just short of the 40-yard line. Dante Marsh first downfield.
Look at the numbers. Darian Durant had some opportunities in that first half to complete for more yards than he has at 96, but the pressure from the Lions caused him some problems as well. Pretty good half for Buck Pierce, like we've mentioned off the top. Playing for more than a win tonight. Pressure on his shoulders to pick up his game, or they will start to look down the depth chart.
Durant to work. Fake, and Fantuz is dropped by Juwan Armour. Andy Fantuz has his 5th catch of the night.
Darian Durant's ability to run the ball can really help you on plays like that, because when he moves in one direction, linebackers like Juwan Armour have to react to it. And that's why that play had pretty good success on first down, because Armour was in chase.
Gain of 8. Check that, Fantuz with his 3rd catch of the night. And it's 2nd and short. Keats the little back. And the handoff, and Keats this time stuffed. Nothing there in short yardage, and it's the Lions defense that comes up with a big stop.
Well, this has been concern. You mentioned it, Chris, that come into this game ranked last in the CFL against the run. And maybe taking a page from the book of the Rider defense in short yardage as they step up and jam it up pretty good there.
In only half the games the Lions have held their opponents under 100 yards rushing, but they have done it twice against the Roughriders this year. Durant shows some frustration as the first series is a 2-and-out. Does kick the rugby-style left footer downfield, and Ian Smart has it at the 25-yard line and dropped quickly by Daniel Francis. Well, Jamie Borum keeps impressing us with that rugby-style kicking that we saw so frequently last week in the gale force conditions in Edmonton.
You know, Jamie Borum may just change the position. I mean, you might start trying to recruit guys that can run like tailbacks, hit like linebackers, kick while they're running like you just saw, make plays in the special teams. Might just become another sort of all-around athlete, because Jamie Borum, if you tried to run with the football full speed and kick it out of the air like that, I guarantee you, folks, you're going to fall down 3 or 4 times out of 10.
Buck Pierce back to work. Into the flat, Paris Jackson has a first down. Up at the 38-yard line.
You know that the BC Lions and their coaching staff talked to that offensive line and said, in order for us to go ahead and win the second half, you're going to have to try and keep Stevie Baggs and especially John Chick, as Chris Schultz mentioned at halftime. You're going to have to keep them out of the backfield.
12 for Jackson. Martel Mallet. Tad Cornegay right there with the quick stop after a couple.
How about a guy like Tad Cornegay in your lineup? I mean, here's a player with 46 tackles coming in. He has 3 interceptions, and Cornegay plays linebacker, started the season at linebacker. But if they lose a corner, as they did in Donovan Alexander, they bump Tad Cornegay from linebacker, not from halfback, folks, or safety or anything like that, from linebacker out to corner.
Second and 8. Pierce underneath. Martel Mallet. And he's got the first down. Eddie Davis couldn't stop him until he had reached first down territory.
Chris, that's a play made by Martel Mallet out of the backfield, because The throw is a little bit behind Mallet as he gets out of there, and he has to react, make the catch, then turn his shoulders and pick up another 3 or 4 to get to the first down. So this is an example of the running back bailing out his quarterback and making him look good.
First down at the Lion 49. And Pierce to the sidelines. Eddie Davis right there to take Paris Jackson out, and just a yard, maybe 2 at the most for the Lions on that play.
I talked to Geroy Simon about Eddie Davis and Omar Morgan on that corner, and I said, you know, I looked at your stats against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Geroy, and he said, and I told him, I said, you know, a lot of those games you really didn't have your biggest game. Said those veterans out there play so well together. Eddie Davis and Omar Morgan are sneaky good. They'll sit back out there waiting, and then right when you think you have them, they'll step out in front of one.
5 for 44 in the 2 meetings, the first 2 meetings. There's a pass for Simon, and Eddie Davis there to bring him down. So Geroy having his best game of the 3 starts against the Roughriders here tonight. That's his 4th catch.
This time he doesn't try and get in between the 2 of them. He'll just work on one of them, and that's on Eddie Davis, who was sitting a little bit high, respecting the speed of Geroy Simon. He cuts underneath that, picks up the catch.
So 12 for Simon. And Geroy at 99 on the night. Pierce has Brian Bryce Mullen, who broke a tackle and surged ahead to get close to another BC first down.
A real well-played football game. We haven't seen a whole lot of penalties. We've seen some great goal line play. We've seen some good defense. Quarterbacks moving the ball. Matt Dunnigan mentioned it at halftime, how Buck Pierce has moved the ball up and down the field, had well over 200 yards net offense in the first half. I'm sure the Lions and Wally Buono would like his special teams and his kicker to be a little more consistent.
2nd and inches here. Justin Sorensen checks in and did check in with the officials as they go to a tight end formation. What does Buck Pierce do with 2nd and inches? Checking Travis Lule in, and he's going to go to work. Looking deep. He's got Paris Jackson. Touchdown!
Same formation, same look, short yardage. They got Ryan Bryce Mullen coming across the formation like they've done many, many times right there. So it all looks the same to the defense, except for one thing. He's going to pull it, turn around, and a wide open Paris Jackson right over the middle, because the play action fake froze the secondary, and Jackson gets in behind him.
Well, we saw it a couple of weeks ago by the Tiger Cats. Adam Tafrelis to Arlen Bruce. And Travis Lule, a 37-yard touchdown pass, his first in the Canadian Football League.
Travis Lule gets his first touchdown throw of his CFL career. Little play action to Martel Mallet and Paris Jackson, who told us before the game he had to step up his game. He and Geroy Simon.
Stick him 19 at ReebokFootball.ca. You hear me? The boy on fire right now.
7 touchdown catch of the year for Jackson. And it wasn't just Buck Pierce who was challenged. He had been the focal point prior to the game, but a lot of veterans had been challenged to step up, and Jackson has done that. There's Armstead on the return, and he'll skip out of bounds. Paris Jackson heard that message from the coach, and he knew he and Geroy Simon had to be bigger tonight.
Over the past few weeks, we've been not really getting the ball that much. You can say defense has been trying to double team Geroy and myself and trying to give these young guys some opportunities to make plays. But now when it's down to 5 and 7 and our backs against the wall, you got to give it to your star players. And it's up to Geroy and myself and Mallet to make big plays.
Got
They have done that tonight. G-Roy Simon, 4 catches, 99 yards. Jackson, 7 for 95 and a touchdown. And Darren Durant's got to get Saskatchewan's offense going. This is a good start. Weston Dressler across midfield and out at the BC 52.
Yeah, that's the guy you go to when you need to get your offense going. Versus the BC Lions in game 1, 7 catches, 154 yards for Weston Dressler. They have entire play package for him. He will have 1,000 yards on the season very shortly. He had 815 coming in.
56 catch of the year. That matches last year's season total for the 2008 Rookie of the Year. 21 yards, and now Wes Keats. High steps down to the 46. Keats has had trouble breaking loose tonight. Gets 6 there.
But you mentioned that, or it was Dave Randorf, I think, mentioned at halftime that he's starting to get the ball more. And he's averaging in his last 4 games 14 carries, just shy of 100 yards a game in his last 4. Paul LaPolice wanted him fresher at this third of the season than the first third. He's coming off that shoulder injury.
Now Keats will line up at a wide receiver spot. 6 receivers set. 2nd and 4, and it hopped in front of Jerron Walker.
You know, talking to guys like Henry Burris and different quarterbacks, veterans around the league, they say when you get hit early in a game, sometimes you feel like there are ghosts rushing you. And you will rush a pass that you really didn't have to rush. I think it happened to Buck Pierce last week in that 3rd down gamble against Calgary. It happened a little bit to Darian Durant right there because I think he had a little more time than he thought. He just one-hopped that one.
So what does Jamie Borum do with this? He'll try and pin the Lions. Unless he does something a little more adventurous.
Pretty soon you're going to have to leave your defense on the field.
That'll bounce down and a good kick. Look at this. Down and out at the 4th. Nice little wedge to the green there for Jamie Borum.
Well, it's Friday night. It's Gladiator night, and it's a chance to salute the real-life gladiators, our men and women of the Canadian Forces. Meet Master Corporal Matthew Leclerc. It's the 3rd Battalion, Royal 22nd Regiment, CFB Valcartier, Quebec. He's deployed here with the A-30 Tactical Helicopter Squadron on an international security assistance force, a mission in Kandahar, Afghanistan. All the football players also total support of the Canadian Forces throughout the league.
Lions starting at their 4-yard line. O'Neal Wilson went high and the pass out of his reach.
As a matter of fact, Mike McCullough, who led a real interesting week with the Canadian Forces. There are 15 soldiers in Regina, the Regina-Yorkton area, and Regina-Yorkton armories that Mike McCullough got together. He got all their rider clothing and all their rider hats and everything, got them all signed. He had all the 15 soldiers, some from the Royal Regina Rifles, come in and get that all signed because they're getting ready to be deployed to Afghanistan throughout the month of October and into November. And so the football team also in a huge support of the Canadian Forces and everything they do.
2nd and 10 from the end zone, and Pierce dropped the ball. Lions get back on it. Stevie Baggs with the forced fumble as he brings Buck Pierce to the turf. Short of the 1st down, just across the 5, but fortunately for the Lions, Domain Deckett gets it back.
And there's Stevie Baggs right down in the corner here, and he's one of the guys that I think is going to fight back. It looks like the ball a little loose. He's carrying it outside the frame there a little bit, Buck Pierce. You can see it out and waving around in his arm. Stevie Baggs puts a hit on him.
Legal contact on receiver. Saskatchewan number 45, 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
Well, Mike McCullough now singled out for another reason, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, well, you know, you are allowed to protect your area in pass coverage. It doesn't have to be in that 1-yard zone. And with the fact that Buck Pierce took off and run, that's a close one.
But a big 1st down for the Lions, giving them a little breathing room. Here's play action. Looked like they were trying to set up a screen. Not home, and so Buck's got to toss it away.
Well-covered screen. I think it was Sean Lucas from Saskatchewan's defense that slid over there. And McCullough played his spot perfectly as well. So Buck Pierce had to eat that one. Still in that range now. If the Riders can get a stop here, that Wally Buono may have to decide to give up the safety. His punter will be standing in the end zone.
Lions have not had a 300-yard passing game in 9 weeks. Pierce at 252 here midway through the third quarter. 2nd and 10. Pressure. Stevie Baggs. Those defensive ends have had a big night here in Vancouver for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, yeah, and you would almost expect that, not only because of the way they've been playing throughout the football season with 8 sacks each coming in, but also that they're up against a newcomer in Domain Duckett, and you can see that Domain Duckett is now learning about the speed of the defensive ends in the Canadian Football League.
Big Keith Shulligan in to help out. Plenty of pressure off the edge again. And now Sean White in his end zone. And will concede the safety. So it's an 8-point Lion lead, 5.5 to go. Third quarter. For every sack in tonight's game, Purolator donates the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going. I had to do a double take. Saskatchewan has only 1 sack.
Well, they have at least, well, closing in on a dozen hits. But just the 1 sack, but it was a big one because now with the new rule, the Lions are kicking off from their 25. Saskatchewan should get pretty good field position, plus they just got the 2 points.
Good kickoff by White to drill it back to the 21. But Armstead's got to return. Armstead's got to return up to the 50-yard line. So down by 8, the Rough Riders are in business with good field position at their own 50, but Darian Durant's got a kickstart an offense that hasn't had a whole lot of traction.
Yeah, let's just show you a guy on the special teams that you might not expect to be on the special teams. Right there, number 97, as he joins the wedge, John Chick, the defensive end, gets up here and gets a nice block right at the point of attack for Jason Armstead. Breaks to the outside. Big John Chick, defensive player, out there on the teams as well.
Fake to Gates. Brent Johnson in pursuit. And Durant just tosses it away.
Oh, his coverage, they were locked down. He had 2 options on the sideline. One was Chris Zarka. I believe it was Andy Fantus, the other receiver, but both were covered well, and he just ran out of room. Big down here. Saskatchewan's got to try and find some offensive momentum. That usually means Weston dressing.
A lot of motion towards the wide side. Durant. Nothing open there, and now dumps it off, and Andy Fantus does have the first down. A little sidestep and across the 50 down to the 49 for a first down before Dante Marsh brings him down.
This is a heads-up play. You know, we forget that Andy Fantus, he's been in the league 4 years, but he starts down here. He's going to work his way back to that short side of the field, and I think he breaks this play off. See, one of the crosser, and then up on the top, he's going to break it off and just sit down. He sees a void in the zone there, and he'll just make that decision on the fly.
12 yards, a first down, and now Wes Cates. And they have shut down the middle tonight. Aaron Hunt.
Well, there's been a huge improvement for the Lions defense in their run defense tonight. Aaron Hunt's been involved. Juwan Armour. Wes Cates is looking at 9 carries for just 27 yards so far, and we're almost finished 3 quarters. Simplifying can sometimes work. Sometimes less is more.
And Mike Benavides has to like that improvement so far tonight. Sets up 2nd and 10. Big rush, safety blitz, and it's a completion. Jerron Walker, and a good tackle there short of the first down by Darren Toney at the 40. And decision time for Ken Miller.
Boy, Baron Miles came on a blitz there, and he's right here. He's picked up nicely by Wes Cates, number 20. Just gets a little piece of him to give Darian Durant a second, because Cates slides to the other side, then he went, whoa, I got to come back and pick up the safety. That allows Durant to get it out, and then gets it that close, just short of the first down.
Ken Miller took his time, assessed a 3rd and 2 gamble, and now sends out Luka Kanji.
And Kanji is standing, what, 1 yard ahead of where the Lions would have kicked a field goal to end the half had they tried, which is still a little mind-boggling.
Yeah, Kanji from 47.
About 2 yards.
It would have been 49 for Sean White. See what Kanji does with this one. And Kanji has nailed it. So a couple of big Luka Kanji field goals, and the Roughriders get within 5. 5-point game, late 3rd quarter. Look who's on the sidelines. Let's check in with more. And Perry Zelkowski.
And Chris, talked to Coach Wally Wano this week about Casey Printers and asked if there's any way we will see him in a Lions uniform this year. He said, barring the injury to his starting quarterbacks, Buck Pierce or Jarius Jackson, he thinks Casey will not be on the lineup because simply he wants to heal him. Says Casey went from the top and had taken a fall. It's something that he has to think and slowly get into position to succeed. Now, that being said, Jarius Jackson is getting healthier. He may not be ready next week, and as we see tonight, Buck Pierce is going to be listed as play-to-play.
I wonder about the presence of Printers on the sidelines and how much of that is spurring on Buck Pierce tonight. Ryan Grace Mullen trying to turn it upfield. And he's brought down at the 31 with a penalty marker on the play.
Well, Casey Printers has been here with the BC Lions now for a couple of weeks. I talked to G. Roy Simon. I asked him, he's a guy who played with him in 2004, his outstanding player season.
There is no infraction on the play.
First question I asked G. Roy Simon is, well, okay, you tell me, has he been a good teammate? What do you think? How has he been in the locker room over the 2 weeks? And he just got this huge smile. He said, Glenn, he was never a bad teammate before, not with us. I don't know where that came from, but he's been excellent. And he's also understood that he is going to have to work his way back. Wally Buono said, I've got to be careful. You've got to be error-free with Casey Printers now, because he only really has one more chance. So let him work his way back through the lineup and through the pecking order.
No penalty, but Eddie Davis shaken up on the play. Tad Cornegay will take his spot in the secondary. Here's Grace Mullen, another run. And he's brought down by Sean Lucas as Jarrell Freeman comes in at Cornegay's linebacker spot. Just of number 50.
Just amazing, Chris. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a player that is that versatile, because sometimes it's hard to go from left corner to right corner, from left guard to right guard. And to have a player that can completely switch positions is a huge asset to your team.
2nd and 7. Buck Pierce in trouble. And throws incomplete to Paris Jackson, but avoided the sack as Sean Lucas was bearing down on him. And the Roughriders defense, after scoring 5 straight points, forces a 2-and-out.
Mike McCullough in the game along with Ray Williams as the Saskatchewan defense lines up like they're going to show maybe a blitz. Then they drop out and they send a different guy who wasn't even close to the line of scrimmage in Sean Lucas. But you're right. Buck Pierce just decided, you know what, I'm going to just avoid the loss.
So just the 2nd punt of the game for Sean White. Armstead back. Less than 90 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter as the plot thickens.
Oh, you can feel the tension. You really can. Something's about to explode here.
Short kick high, and went off the Lion player and bounced out. Well, tomorrow TSN2 brings you exclusive NHL action live from Helsinki, Finland, as the Panthers take on the Blackhawks. Live coverage begins on TSN2 at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Great time of year. Got hockey starting. We've got the final turn, the final third of the CFL football season. These teams try and jockey for position. I just want to know, I was lined up to find out, you know, the parade route for the Vancouver Canucks, and I just, because we were going to go unbeaten, I heard.
You're into 81-1 territory now. There's a no yards penalty of 15 yards as it hit the Lion, who was on punt cover, didn't get a number, and so a 15-yard net play on the punt and penalty. Jerron Walker a catch at the Lion 45. So here comes Saskatchewan back into scoring territory. They've scored 5 straight points after falling behind by 10.
This play has no chance if not for number 20, who's going to step on the backside here and help in blocking to get Darian Durant outside and to the left. He's going to have 2 guys coming off the edge. One is Brent Johnson, the other is Steve Williams, and he blocks up Williams.
2nd and 5. Durant rolls. He's got Andy Van Toos, and he couldn't bring it down. You put that one on the quarterback, though, don't you?
Yeah, you do. That was a high throw, and it looked like as Darian Durant was rolling to that right side and towards the sideline, as he's going out in this direction, if he can get his shoulders around and kind of come back towards the line of scrimmage a little bit more, he can bring that ball down, but I think he just lets it sail. Nice move by Andy Fantus to get himself open on that double cut. And that ball just high and outside.
And Ken Miller opting not to try a 52-yarder here from Luka Kanji. Jimmy Borum will try and pin them in the corner again, as he did on his last kick. This one taken by Ian Smart at his 12. And drilled at the 15-yard line. Ray Williams was down first. End of 3 quarters in Vancouver. 3rd quarter stats are brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
The BC Lions defensively were the worst team in the league against the run. They have really shored that part of their game up for this game against Saskatchewan. You see we're well under 50 yards there rushing the football after 3 quarters. So mission accomplished there, but this has been a very good football game.
And we thought it would be with so much at stake. The Roughriders in a battle for first. They haven't finished first in 76, and maybe even more important for the Lions to stay in the race for home field, because the next 3 games for BC are on the road.
Well, without question, Winnipeg Blue Bombers won. The BC Lions, I know they're not really thinking about crossover right now. They still have home playoff game in their sights.
Chance for Wally Buono's team to pull into a tie with Edmonton. Upset tonight in Winnipeg. A lot of football to be played here. This is going to be an intriguing final 15 minutes. Martel Mallet stuffed, and Keith Sholigan will drive him back.
Well, now that sets up the John Chick down. I might just call it that tonight. It's the John Chick down because it's 2nd and long. Now he's going to load up and bring his best pass move on the newcomer to Maine Duckett. Actually, he's going to line up on the other side in this one. Stevie Baggs over there.
2nd and 10. Pierce gets it away. Incomplete. Into a little traffic there.
Was it ever? And one of them was Mike McCullough. He slides under that, and really, he had a chance at it. Because on that throw, Buck Pierce tried to really thread the needle here. Watch this nice drop as Mike McCullough is just going to read the eyes of the quarterback, look at his body language, and slide to the football, and he almost had one there.
So back-to-back 2 and outs for the Lions, who, remember, stalled a week ago after moving the football in the first half against Calgary, and then things stalled. Good kick by White. Armstead a few steps back, and now across midfield. Armstead brought to the turf at the BC 50. Introducing the TSN e-store at tsnshop.ca. Now you can own top quality TSN athletic and casual gear, including official CFL on TSN merchandise. Visit tsnshop.ca and order yours today.
Good field position for Saskatchewan here.
Momentum at the back of the Roughriders right now, trying to close a 5-point BC lead. Steve Williams wrestles Cates to the turf after a gain of close to 5 at the 45-yard line.
Riders have a lead after 3 quarters. They've been very good, 7-0. When they've been behind, they have not won a game. 0-5. Can they break that trend tonight? The running backs have been canceled out.
Second and 5. Durant over the middle, knocked down. Nice defensive play. Ryan Phillips, who has an interception. And Ken Miller now, who opted not to try a 52-yarder on the last series. And this time he sends out, well, he sends out Jamie Borum again.
Already has an interception. He has 8 in 8 games versus Saskatchewan. And a good knockdown right over the middle to time it up perfectly and avoid pass interference, keeping that left hand off the back of the receiver.
Textbook stuff, and now Borum. Suddenly the defense is digging right in, and had a little stalemate here for a few series. The Roughriders try and pin the Lions again inside their 15.
You get that feeling, Chris, someone's going to have to take some chances, roll the dice with a little deep ball here or something.
Unless there's a return, Ryan Grace Mullen is dropped, and they'll call no yards. And that'll be the 15-yard variety.
That's a big one. That's a big one, because if it is the no yards,
well, they're going to talk about it. It might not be no yards. 34-yard punt. And it is against Saskatchewan.
No yards. Saskatchewan number 14, 15-yard penalty. First down.
So James Patrick was just within that 5 yards.
Again, it's very close. This back-to-back weeks that no yards here. You watch when Bryce Mullen catches this here. He's going to be, or he's right about the 13-yard line, and there's Patrick. It's eagle-eyed official, maybe just inside.
So it's a net of 15 after the 15-yard penalty, and almost intercepted. Tad Cornegay had his hands on the football as he broke up the pass intended for Paris Jackson.
And again, slowly putting a game together. I said, you know, before the game, I had a nice conversation with Tad, and he said he's fine being out of the limelight, out of the media, has no problem with that. He said, I just like to go and show up and play. I love the game. And I said, well, you're putting up some big numbers. He said, well, maybe I can give you something to talk about tonight. And he's doing that.
2nd and 10. Is this a third straight 2 and out? No! G-Roy Simon's got a first down up at the 44.
This time they put Tad Cornegay deep, and they leave Ray Williams underneath, the linebacker, who is more of a run stopper. Boy, we've seen him do that. And G-Roy Simon sees Tad Cornegay up deep, and then he'll just cut right in front of him and in behind Ray Williams.
Third 100-yard game of the year for G-Roy Simon. First down Lions out of the bunch. And Pierce throws the out. Grace Mullen got a foot down, no. Out of bounds, incomplete.
A couple things, though. The hits that Buck Pierce took in the first 3 quarters, looks like his feet are starting to bounce around a little bit, and he's getting a little antsy. He played a good first half last week, as you mentioned, Chris, then threw that interception in the second half that obviously really hurt the BC Lions. And he's also starting to telegraph a little bit. In other words, he's locking into receivers, staring them down. He's almost had a couple interceptions.
Last week, just 72 yards in the second half against Calgary. He has gone 6 for 12 for 60 in the second half. Until that, Paris Jackson. So Simon with a big catch. Now Jackson, and the Lions are into Rough Rider territory.
And this time, just as I say it, Buck Pierce was almost like he was listening to me, because he decided to look off. And you can see he's looking to the left, tries to give the defense a appreciation. There's a quick glance to the left, and then back over to the opposite side and right over the middle to Paris Jackson. Freeze the defense. Have them think you're going to the left side of the formation and come back. And Paris Jackson makes a nice catch for him.
So G-Roy over 100, and now Paris Jackson does the same. The guys that were quiet last week at McMahon making noise. Here's Ryan Grace Mullen, the hitch. And he gets sandwiched at the 45. And that's a pickup of 3.
And without the block of Emmanuel Arsenault there, he gets nothing.
Jackson on the limp, and he's going to go to the sidelines and calls for a replacement.
You know, on this is the last play. He was a little banged up, I think, on that one over the middle that he had just caught. Yeah, he could barely move there. And then took a hit from John Chick.
So that'll be a cause for concern at the Lions bench. 2nd and 7. And a completion to Arsenault, close to a first down, should have it. If they hadn't had a completion there, it would have been interesting to see what Wally Buono would have done with a potential 50-yard plus field goal attempt. Doesn't have that concern with the first down to Arsenault.
No, and with this much time left in the game, you got to believe that he wouldn't have tried a field goal. Arsenault just turns on that out. It was a very similar play to the interception that Buck Pierce threw last week. This time the timing way better, and Arsenault comes up with a catch.
So the Lions offense gaining traction here in the 4th quarter. 8.5 to go. Pierce over the middle, high and incomplete. G-Roy Simon took a hit. Eddie Davis with the defensive play and a flag in the offensive backfield of BC.
And I think G-Roy Simon is shaken up because of when he hit the ground. He laid out for this one. It was another high throw.
Holding BC number 69. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
The newcomer Demaine Duckett gets called.
Well, let's show you the hit on Simon first. I think Eddie Davis is just going to let him go, but look at the hit when he ends up going to the ground. That ball way up there. And if Simon, by the way, doesn't get his hand on that, look at Patrick in behind. James Patrick has an interception.
1st and 20 as they mark it back 10 at the 48. Buck Pierce to Ryan Grace Mullen. He drops the football, and the Roughriders have got it. Donovan Alexander. And he's tripped up by O'Neal Wilson at the BC 48, but a big fumble by Ryan Grace Mullen. And Alexander scoops it up. Well, the BC Lions opting to challenge this play, and I think this is a challenge that they're going to lose.
Yeah, I think so. The first question, was it a catch, and did Grace Mullen have control? I think he did. He turned and started running with the ball. And the other was he down by contact, and you could clearly see the ball was out before he hit the ground. So I don't think this will be overturned.
Should be the 4th forced fumble of the year for Sean Lucas, and the 2nd recovery by The youngster on the corner, Donovan Alexander.
That didn't take long.
Upon review, the BC player did catch the pass, then he fumbled it. It was recovered by Saskatchewan. It will be Saskatchewan's ball. First down. BC will be charged.
So another big play by one of the most underrated players in the league, Sean Lucas.
And the officials just saying at the end of that, BC will be charged a timeout for the missed challenge. And in a close game, just about 8 minutes left.
You know,
might be important.
Excuse me, Glenn, but we were discussing this during the break. You know, it might be worth the challenge because it's such a big play, but at the same time, it was so clearly a fumble that you wonder if Wally Bono's not better to just hold the challenge flag and save the timeout. Can the Riders capitalize on the mistake? Durant looking for Bag, and they give him right back. Baron Miles has the interception. Number 61 in his CFL career, and that's tied for 4th now on the all-time list.
5-time All-Canadian. Number 9 just at the bottom of your screen, and he's just going to flow with Darian Durant on the full roll. That was the only target possible deep, and that was Rob Bagg. He cuts underneath it for number 61 in his career. His teammates call him Yoda, the wise one.
Well, our wise one, hanging tough, tied for 10th, but Baron Miles is still climbing.
Do or do not. There is no try. That's Yoda. That was a Yoda line. Sorry.
Martel Mallet across midfield to the Roughrider 53-yard line, his biggest run of the night.
Well, if your offensive line is struggling a little bit in the pass protection, why don't you just let them run block one time? And that's what the BC Lions decide to do here. They let their guys go out and try and get a block in the run game. And this time, in fairness, Damon Duckett gets a nice block on John Chick, turns him outside, and opens up a hole for Martel Mallet.
21 yards for Mallet.
Momentum swing and an interception.
Back-to-back plays with turnovers, and now Mallet with the ball again. Ted Cornegie in to help out as Mallet crashes down to the Roughrider 48-yard line.
I know we've mentioned it in the last couple of weeks, but Martel Mallet got to be a front runner for outstanding rookie in the Canadian Football League. Tomorrow when we do the Hamilton-Calgary game, Leander Cobb has got to be a guy that would be considered, I think, out of the East. The BC Lions have a great history with rookies.
Perry Solkowski reporting from the bench that they're holding Paris Jackson out as they continue to check the knee. Second down, and O'Neal Wilson has the catch. The safety Patrick with the tackle, but it's another BC first down with under 6 minutes left.
This is called the bunch formation that a lot of teams use now, where they get all 3 receivers and they bring them real close to the line of scrimmage. And see, O'Neal Wilson is the outside guy at the beginning of it, and then he cuts underneath, and the defenders, as that comes out, the ball is snapped, you have to figure out which guy you take.
So Pierce over 300 for only the 2nd time this season. But it won't be a good night for Buck Pierce unless a W is attached to it. Pressure, scrambling, and Buck Pierce running down at the 16-yard line, and they're on their feet here at BC Place.
Buck Pierce is playing for his career, and you can sure tell. There was no way in the world that Buck Pierce was going to hook slide here. His coach basically called him out in the press conference and said he has to play better or we have to start looking elsewhere. And he runs right down the middle of that Saskatchewan defense.
No hook slide there, 21 yards. There is an injury on the play to a Rough Rider, so we'll step out with 5:02 on the clock, 4th quarter. Wendy's CFL on TSN Friday Night Football, brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the Canadian Football League. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939. 21-yard run for Buck Pierce. The tackle by Sean Lucas, who was shaken up on the play.
And he's going to get hit by his own teammate in James Patrick. He's going for the tackle from behind Buck Pierce. Patrick goes low and gets him right on the side of the right knee. So good news for Rider fans. He walked off under his own steam, so hopefully he'll be okay.
Jarrell Freeman comes back into the game on defense. It's 1st and 10 for the Lions at the Saskatchewan 18. Pierce looks to the end zone and broken up. Almost intercepted by Eddie Davis, as he was in a good battle with the youngster Emmanuel Arsenault, 22 years of age, and the PG veteran Eddie Davis,
whose first year in the CFL was in Birmingham, if you can believe that. But you're right, and Eddie Davis knows one thing here, Chris, that he can't have this become a simultaneous catch as they go down, because that goes to the offense and it would have been a touchdown. So he has to get it out.
14-year difference in that battle for the football. 2nd and 10. Pierce, Mallett drops the ball out of the backfield. And they'll have to settle for a 3-point attempt and make it an 8-point lead. But a missed opportunity for Wally Bono's offense.
The ball a little bit behind. Mallett had to, coming out of the backfield here, turn all the way around. But a real catchable ball for him. And he has a little bit of room to run down that sideline if he can hang on.
Yesterday, Buck Pierce talked about Mallett still learning the passing part of the game. For 25 yards out, Sean White puts it through. So it's 16-8. But still a one-possession football game with 4:08 remaining.
Well, it'll be interesting over the next week or two with regards to the kicking story here in BC, no matter how this game turns out.
A couple of White misses and one field goal that the Lions opted not to try.
Veteran kicker and Paul McCallum ready and waiting, because this one just may come down to a field goal, so you'll get a chance, and Wally Buono will get a chance to see if Sean White possibly can make a clutch kick.
NFL Sunday Night Football continues this week on TSN as the Chargers travel to Pittsburgh to take on Roethlisberger and the Steelers. Live coverage at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific.
Former BC Lion Stephen Logan.
Look forward to seeing him. White, the kickoff, and Armstead on the return. Flag down. Another flag. As Armstead is downed at the 51-yard line, Javi Glatt there. And we'll see what these 2 penalty markers are all about.
Saskatchewan fans, of course, hoping that they'll cancel each other out. I have my doubts.
It's been a low flag game, and that's one of the reasons why it's been as entertaining as it's been. 10 penalties in the game.
Illegal block. Saskatchewan number 27. It's a 10-yard penalty. Holding Saskatchewan. That penalty's declined. 1st down.
Roughriders don't have a 27.
Yeah.
Well, they did. He's in the booth now. I knew they'd get you sooner or later.
I got called for holding as a Color analyst. I've seen it all.
Get your hands off me. Dressler. Down the sidelines. Still going. Weston Dressler dropped from behind by Jawan Arbor, but he rips up a huge chunk of real estate to fan the Roughriders come back home 46 yards.
And how does Weston Dressler find a crease down the sideline? Looked like he was all hemmed in there. As Tony's outside, he cuts a little bit underneath. Maybe underestimating the speed of Weston Dressler. You better not do that. He'll burn you every time. Little bubble screen, then he gets the angle.
Biggest play second half for Saskatchewan. And over the middle, Fantus has a first down. Arbor another tackle, but the Roughriders are rolling here with 3 minutes remaining. So it could be a great finish here at BC Place. Saskatchewan threatening. Tonight's game story brought to you by Molson Canadian. This is our beer.
Saskatchewan's knocking on the door, have an opportunity here to tie it up because of the missed opportunities and their goal line defense in the first half. Heard Paris Jackson earlier in the game say that he and G-Roy Simon had to turn it up. They've done that. Simon passes Daryl Mitchell. There's game to be played here, and we're going to have a finish.
Game on. First down from the 24. Durant looking in zone. Rob Bag can't come up with it. Tough catch in the end zone as he got turned around. Preston George in coverage.
Fairness to Darian Durant, he really had to throw it to Rob Bag's outside shoulder to the right side because there was coverage trying to catch up in Tristan George. But as these players try to find the football, Bag does, and barely. He almost pulls that one right up off the turf, but it does hit the ground. Bansu.
Last visit to Vancouver, Rob Bag scored his first 2 Canadian Football League touchdowns, 2nd and 10. 3 down territory now for the Roughriders. To the end zone, Bantu, touchdown! What a catch! Andy Bantus!
That ball looked like it was overthrown by about 2 yards.
And a 2-point convert away from drawing even here in Vancouver.
Darian Durant has to deal with a low shotgun snap, then finds Fantus, and I thought this was overthrown, but look at him climb the ladder. Out jump Baron Miles. What a catch by Andy Fantus.
3rd touchdown catch of the year. He had a 2-point convert last week in Edmonton. And now Ken Miller's offense on the field trying to tie this up. Durant looks one way. Anybody there? Pressure, end zone. Jerron Walker, he's got it. Tie game.
This is all Darian Durant.
Well, he made a great play for a 2-point convert in Montreal. This not as spectacular, but pretty darn good.
Darian Durant did not have a receiver out of that side of the formation, and he has to buy time. If he can't buy time here, this play is over. Anton McKenzie tracking him down. He's got to wait. He's got to wait. He throws it on a crossing route to Jerron Walker, who started on the right side of the formation, came all the way across. If Durant can't buy this time, this play is over. He does, and gets it there. And what a catch at the other end.
They have hung around all night, and now they're even.
And now you understand why people are saying that you have to start to consider Darian Durant in your outstanding player conversations.
He's shown great resilience tonight. Not his best night of the year.
Hey, Mom and Dad, I love you. We're still here. The rest of the family, I love you.
But maybe Andy Fantus' biggest catch of the year. Going to be a great final 2.5 minutes. Ryan Grace Mullen to the 29.
Well, that was some kind of catch by Andy Fantus. And I know we've seen this before, and he's starting to make it look routine, but this is not an easy catch. He has to go way up with Baron Miles in his face. And
sure finish. Keep watching. TSN, Friday Night Football.
Now, if Wally Buono is going to get an answer about whether or not number 16 is the guy for this offense, he may get that answer in the next 2:27.
Daniel Francis into this defense for Saskatchewan. Sean Lucas still out and not going anywhere. Roughriders trying to take first place pending tomorrow night's Calgary-Hamilton game. While the BC Lions need a win to move into a tie with Edmonton, but to really enhance their opportunity of a home field playoff game. This had the makings or the feeling of a must win for BC. Big second down play now, second and 9.5. And Buck Pierce, did G-Roy Simon catch that?
Clutch.
We may have to look at this one.
You know they will, and you know the Rider coaching staff wants to take a quick look at this play to see if they want to challenge. Over the middle for Buck Pierce. He steps in, and G-Roy Simon has to go low, pull this right off his shoe tops.
Oh,
what
that's
a catch.
Spectacular. That is a catch. Roughriders wanted their coaches to throw the challenge flag, but we're inside 3 minutes.
Yeah,
and it will have to come from Toronto.
The replay official wants the play to be reviewed. We'll review the play.
You know, and this is good that the league is taking a look at this anyway, because even though after that replay they could probably see what everyone else saw, which is G-Roy Simon pulling that one up off the turf without his hands. That ball did not touch the ground, but it's good to take a look anyway, make sure it's the right call. But what a clutch catch by G-Roy Simon. That's money.
And it's a nice excuse just to admire an outstanding grab. G-Roy's 6th of the night for 134, unless somebody in Toronto sees something we don't.
Upon review, it was a catch. Therefore, the ruling in the field stands. First down.
It was a catch with an exclamation mark.
There's not a quarterback in the league right now that has more pressure on him than Buck Pierce.
And a great discussion. What a gutsy night for Buck Pierce. And if they don't win,
did he do enough?
Did he do enough? Well, he's got 2 minutes to make that question move. Pressure. Stevie Banks. And Buck gets outside. And he's taken down at the Lion bench, and they're going to mark him out at the 54. A tough 4-yard run.
And believe me, I understand that there is a tremendous amount of pressure on every quarterback in professional football. But not every quarterback in this league was called out like Wally Buono called out Buck Pierce yesterday in the press conference. About 3 first downs away, or 2.5 from a field goal range for the BC Lions.
And there's another interesting subplot. Does it all fall on the shoulders of Sean White here to end the game? They need more yards yet. Second down, and what a catch that was. O'Neal Wilson. Key.
And that was a short side out route that was picked off in Calgary when the Lions were trying to make a comeback there a week ago. This time, timing better. And what a catch as the receivers for the BC Lions come through big time.
Wally Buono said last week the big guys for Calgary made the plays when they had to. Henry Burris, Jermaine Copeland, Nick Lewis. We've seen G-Roy Simon step up, and even the supporting cast. That's a heck of a play by O'Neal Wilson. And it's going to be an inch or two short.
And short yardage has been anything but guaranteed for the BC Lions over the last year and a half.
Surely Wally Buono's offense can get a chain link, can't they? but it has been an adventure.
Well, there's been a couple of short yardage even tonight, Chris, that the Saskatchewan defense have caught the offense for the Lions behind the line of scrimmage by a yard. You got to believe that this will be Travis Luley on the quarterback sneak right in behind Angus Reid. But that's where Marcus Adams early on in this game got penetration and got him for a 1.5 yard loss. So nothing is guaranteed.
Luley, if you joined us late, came in on a 2nd and inches and tossed a touchdown pass in the first half. But not an option here, we're sure. He'll just get the first down and does it easily down to the 45-yard line. So if Wally Buono's offense can't get any more, well, it's a 52-yard field goal, but Sean White would like a little more offense first.
Yeah, and obviously he's going to try from 50, 49. Like, he didn't try from 49 to end the half, but obviously in a desperate situation you would. You'll find something out about Sean White here in a minute too.
Martell Mallett, head of steam. Dropped by Ray Williams, but that's a good first down rush of close to 7 yards for Mallett.
And clutch blocking up front to get Mallett a little bit of a crease, because that takes a ton of pressure off of Sean White.
Make it almost 8, and you're right. Now we're in the neighborhood of a less than 45-yard field goal, and Mallett, big surge.
Oh, did he get there?
After Stevie Baggs made initial contact, the rookie running back was able to bounce off, and it looks like he's extended the drive.
Yeah, because if he gets there, the Lions could run another couple of plays before they try field goal. Even if they don't get anything, they take that clock all the way down and don't give the Riders a chance. If Sean White made the field goal here to get back and try and get one of their own, so that's a big one.
Buck Pierce has shown a lot of resiliency tonight, and more in this last drive, and putting it in the hands of Mallett. Keith Shulligan brings him down at around the 30-yard line, and Mallett on the night now up to 82 yards on 20 tough carries.
Now they'll try and get it towards the middle of the field, take it down a little bit more of the clock, try and get it to a straight-on kick.
Been an impressive response by the Lions so far after the tying touchdown, and there it is, right into the middle, and almost taking it to the far hash mark.
Well, it looks like he did almost. That's where it'll end up lining up, on the hash mark. The Rider tacklers did a nice job to make it at least a little tougher on Sean White, push him wide, because I think this will be marked on the hash.
Yes. Buck should have hit the turf a little earlier, but Sean White comes out. The offense has driven it down into makeable range for White, who will line up what looks like it's going to be a 33-yard attempt.
Well, it has been a story all week. Veteran Paul McCallum not dressed, and whether or not this was the right decision, Wally Buono going with his young kicker, and Sean White felt he had played well enough to keep his job, but this is where it all matters right now.
Jamie Borum is in the end zone for Saskatchewan in case there's a miss. Haven't seen the kick out in a long time, have we?
You got 3 of them back there now. Absolutely.
3 Rough Riders at the back line. Luke Kaji back there. And now the Rough Riders are going to try and ice Sean White. So again, 3 men in the end zone. If there's a miss, they'll try and kick it out.
And there's been, it's interesting that there's been times when, you know, some people have asked me as a former holder, you know, are there times when you tell the kicker, just hit it really hard because a single wins you the game anyway? And you can't really tell a kicker that. You want to keep him in his rhythm and let him just go and kick it and have confidence in him. But he has missed a couple tonight. How much is that weighing on him right now?
Excuse me, Glenn Conji has gone back to the bench, replaced by Weston Dressler in the end zone. It won't matter if Sean White splits the uprights, and White does. Ball game for the Lions. 3-point lead unless Saskatchewan can do something with 5 seconds.
After a field goal, now you have to kick off.
A weight off Sean White and a weight off Buck Pierce. Time for tonight's Friday Night Gladiator.
Well, he had all the pressure of not only this game, but likely of his career as a BC Lion on his shoulders when his coach yesterday in the press conference said Buck Pierce simply has to play better. He took a ton of hits. He was bloodied. He was beat up. But he made some big plays down the stretch, including this 21-yard run. Buck Pierce, our gladiator. I don't think there was any other choice.
Brought to you by Movado. The Movado 800 Series, all about the art of performance, where serious sports function meets powered design. And Buck Pierce is your Friday Night Gladiator on an interesting night at BC Place Stadium that still has 5 seconds of drama left.
And what they're going to do is they're going to try and get, they've got some kickers out, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They've got Luca Conji on the field. They've got Jamie Borum on the field. They'll try and keep it alive, try and keep it moving as close as they can, and can kick it on the fly if they wanted to. Jamie Borum's great at that, so Buck Pierce is absolutely right. 5 seconds in the CFL, you never know.
Clock doesn't start till the Roughriders field the football. It does go deep, and it will be Armstead handing it off, and Jamie Borum's going to rugby kick it down, blocked. And Todd McKenzie's got it, and he'll be dropped at the 5-yard line. Final play here in Vancouver. Wally Motto's team has survived to win their 6th and move into a tie with the Edmonton Eskimos.
You know one thing, Buck Pierce did enough to get a start next week.
As courageous as night as we've seen from a player this year in the Canadian Football League. Lions win it as we send it back to David Randolph.
Thanks, Chris. Good game in Vancouver tonight. And time now for your TSN Turning Point. And we don't have to turn the clock back too far. Sean White, who had missed 2 field goals earlier from 31 and 45 yards, drills one with the pressure on Chris Schultz from 33 yards away to win it for the BC Lions in the final minute. Turning Point is brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. And we now have a tighter West Division after this final. The BC Lions beating the Saskatchewan Roughriders 19-16. Buck Pierce, what an effort for him. On behalf of all the boys, thanks for watching Wendy's Friday Night Football. Sports Center is now.